If you had to sum up the French using just a few words, what would you say? Well, superb capital city, fantastic food, pretty good football team, and a good few years ago they made some superb motor cars. But it's fair to say that in recent years it's all been a little bit dull for the French. Although cars like the Peugeot 406 and Renault's old Laguna function well enough, they didn't really stir the emotions in the way the Citroën DS once did. Well, now it looks as though Mr. Renault has had the wake-up call, sat up in bed and gone, "Mon Dieu, what are we doing? We need to be making cars like this, the new Renault Laguna." Whereas the old Laguna was quite rounded and soft, this new shape boasts bold and striking lines to create a style that this market hasn't seen for decades. In keeping with this new French style, Renault have opted to call this model not an estate, but a sports tourer. There's also a hatchback available with equally distinctive lines. Now, it's not just the styling on this car that's revolutionary, there's a huge amount of technology as well that until recently you could only find on very expensive luxury cars. Keyless entry, you get that on a Merc S-Class. Now, once you're inside the Laguna, the technology continues. You've got quite a clever, almost head-up display, which actually monitors the tyre pressures. There's a synthesised voice that lets you know if the tyres are going down or if you've got a door open, and there's driver-passenger airbags and an electric sunroof. Now, satellite navigation and electronic stability controls are available as an option, but everything else I've mentioned does come as standard. And the materials that Renault have used in this new car, well, they feel very, very good, very high quality, and it's quite a nice place to spend time. And remember that keyless ignition? Put it in the slot, press the button, couldn't be easier. Now, although this new Laguna isn't as softly sprung as the old one, it's still a very French ride. They tend to go for comfort rather than sporty performance, and it means it's a lot less firm than some of its rivals. And when you start to push it, especially on these A roads, it does feel a lot less composed. But when you get out onto the motorway, it's a completely different story. The ride is superb and the car feels extremely refined. And as for noise, well, you've just got a bit of a purr from that V6 and a bit of wind noise to keep you company. There are currently 3 petrol engines and 1 diesel available to the Laguna range. The petrol starts with 100 brake horsepower 1.6. There's also a 1.8 and it's topped by the 210 brake horsepower 3 litre V6, and that's the one we're driving today. There's only one option available for diesel fans at the moment, the direct injection 1.9 DCI, but a more powerful 2.2 litre model will join the range later in the summer. So what about performance figures? Well, on the V6, 0 to 60 takes just over 8 seconds and you get a top speed of 147 miles an hour. But if the company aren't paying you petrol bills, the fuel consumption might be a problem because it's just over 27 miles to the gallon. But don't despair, because the 1.8 engine Laguna is no slouch. 0 to 60 is 10.7 seconds, top speed of 126 miles an hour, but a much better fuel consumption at over 37 miles to the gallon. This is obviously a very important car for Renault, as they plan to sell 230,000 Lagunas each year worldwide. But to do so, it's going to have to take on strong new competition from the likes of the new Ford Mondeo, Volkswagen's new Passat and the arch rival Citroën's sophisticated C5. Now, whilst we're not saying that this new Laguna is going to become a major French icon, it has certainly brought a lot of new flair and style to the class. And on looks alone, it's a winner, and that's without taking into account the amount of kit you get for the standard specification. So I think, Mr. Renault, you can sleep at night because très bien, it's a job well done.